Well, is Glenny Kessler going to put an addendum to his Washington Post fact checker about it? About the case of the 10-year-old girl, Ohio girl, that was raped and made pregnant. Remember I talked about that in the last couple of videos? And there was all this doubt because it wasn't substantiated or what, blah, 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 or some naive nonsense that 10-year-old girls can't get pregnant, so therefore it was made up. And of course, I pretty much debunked that in my last video, because they can and do get pregnant, and they get raped, they get, by definition, and they can get pregnant. Well, guess what? The story's true. And the guy was arrested, and I had heard something about this that the local media was talking about, that there was a dude involved in it, particular dude. But anyway, let's find out what he is. Remember, there was an article also in the Daily Mail and other places that the Ohio AG, because he hadn't heard about it, there was a whisper about it that must not have happened. But of course, this shit happens all the time. Anyway, his name is Gerson Fuentes, 27. And he was arrested yesterday and charged with rape of a minor. So the blurb says he's accused of raping a 10-year-old Ohio girl who traveled to Indiana to get an abortion hours after the Supreme Court's decision to overturn Roe v. Wade. Fuentes was arraigned Wednesday, today, days after some conservatives raised questions about whether the case was real. Well, why wouldn't it be real? Because it happens. And the blurb says, Dave Yost, who's an attorney general in Ohio, who must be pretty sheltered, he told Fox News on July 11th that a police report was never filed. 5 days after the girl identified Fuentes to authorities and weeks after a child services report was generated. So yeah, all this shit happened. Glenny boy and company, all this shit happened. Everything that you claimed didn't happen, did. But it's things called confidentiality until they're ready to press charges. It's all confidential shit. Fuentes, who's believed to be undocumented, was given a higher bond for possibly being a flight risk and for the safety of children involved. So, let's look at this. An Ohio man has been charged with impregnating a 10-year-old girl who was forced to cross state lines to get an abortion. A story that garnered national attention following the Supreme Court's decision to overturn Roe v. Wade. And remember, President Biden mentioned this case the other day, and that's what prompted little Glenny Kessler to think, well, it hasn't been substantiated, like this can't happen. Well, it did. The unidentified child made national headlines when she traveled from Ohio to Indiana to get an abortion after the state banned the procedure after 6 weeks, hours after the 6-3 Supreme Court vote, which was actually 5-4. But Roberts only concurred in the part of upholding the Mississippi law. He did not support the overturning of Roe v. Wade. Fuentes was arraigned Wednesday, days after some conservatives, including Ohio's Republican governor and attorney general, had raised questions about whether the case was real. Of course it's real. Of course it's real. Why wouldn't it be real? Do they think 10-year-olds can't get pregnant? As I mentioned last time, there's oodles of cases. This isn't a case of precocious puberty like I mentioned Lena Medina, where that was a case of precocious puberty. I think it's before age 8, and that's rare. And even more rare now because of puberty blockers. This is within the normal range of puberty. I think 9 years of age to 16 is normal, the normal span. So of course they can get pregnant. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Anyway, so they repeat themselves. What a a liar. Yost told, there's some people that are going to have to apologize. 5 days after the girl identified Fuentes to authorities and weeks after the child services report was generated, that a police report was never filed involving a 10-year-old rape victim, and the office works closely with law enforcement, indicating he would have known he didn't know about it, or he's lying. We have regular contact with prosecutors and local police and sheriffs. Not a whisper anywhere. You want to bet? A detective testified Wednesday that Columbus police learned about the girl's pregnancy through a referral by Franklin County Children's Services that was made by her mother on June 22nd. The Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, the landmark 1973 ruling that recognized women's constitutional right to abortion, just 2 days later on June 24th. The girl had an abortion in Indianapolis on June 30th. The Columbus Dispatch reported crossing state lines in order to access the procedure. An Indianapolis physician who provides abortion services, Dr. Caitlin Bernard, had told the Indianapolis Star that an abortion had been provided for such a child because the girl couldn't get an abortion in Ohio, which had a newly imposed state ban on abortions for the first detectable fetal heartbeat, and it's not a fetal heartbeat, so that's not even accurate. The child was 6 weeks and 3 days pregnant, therefore ineligible by just 3 days to receive the procedure in her home state. According to court records, a report was generated on June 22nd with the Columbus Division of Police for rape, and on July 6th, the victim identified Fuentes to authorities as the person who raped her, or the man who raped her. A week later, Fuentes was served with a search warrant for a saliva sample and was taken into custody, where he confessed to raping the victim multiple times. This guy is going to jail for a long time. So he's confessed. He'll probably plead guilty, and that'll be the end of it. But it ain't made up, folks. 10-year-olds can get raped. They are raped, and they can. 10-year-old girls, and they can get pregnant. And there's no hoax, and this is out, and unfortunately there's going to be more and more of these cases, thanks to the good old worthless USSC. So that's it.